Hello and a very warm welcome to you guys to another tutorial here on the channel. And this is the third of the Google Earth tutorial series that we've been looking at. And if you remember, we've been trying to use Google Earth to kind of help us figure out how to carry the initial stages of site characterization. And in the last tutorial, we're focusing on Google Earth current maps. And we said there are, informations you can pull from just looking at the current maps to help you with site location, checking site access, looking for potential site problems, and then also looking at current developments on your site. So today we are going to continue along the same lines, but we'll be looking at external data sources that you can bring into Google Earth and further pull other information from those sources. And by now, your site location and site access should all be completed from that first step that we did last time. And so today we are going to focus more on potential site problems, but also look at historical developments that may have taken place on your site. So without wasting much time, let's just pull up Google Earth and work our way through it. Alright, so I just opened up the same tutorial file that we're looking at in that last video, and you can see this is the same site we've been working with. And you see the site labeling is appearing twice. This is because it's also showing in temporary places. So you can come over here to the left side and just turn off temporary places and you should be fine. Now the first thing we are going to do is look at historical aerials. Try to see what this site looked like some time ago in the past. And your first source of information for that is actually still in Google Earth. So if you come up here to the tools, the one that looks like a clock with a backward pointing arrow, that's Google's store of historical areas. So you can use this time frame to look at your site at different periods in time. Now keep in mind these areas may not be available for every single site that you look at, and also if they are available, the length of time you can go back is very much dependent on which area you are in, because Google doesn't have areas for all of the world, for all of time. But the good thing is you might be able to go at least as far back as in the 90s just to see what your site looks like in those years. So you just drag this pointer along the slider. So right now it's at 2020. If you drag it back here to, let's say, 2013, so this is what our site looks like in 2013. Nothing has changed much. And drag it a little further, 2007, and it's loading. So sometimes if you don't have an aerial for that year, it might just be blank like this. So I think in this case we don't have an aerial for the L. Yeah, there's one. So still not too much difference in the site. And we go to 2004. Still doesn't look much different, just the different lighting condition, but the site development is pretty much the same. About 99. And yeah, for the older aerials, you might be looking at them in black and white, but still the development on the site doesn't look that much different than right now. So let's go all the way to the end, 1995. And now we start to see a difference. You look at it, this is 1995, and look again at 2007. There is buildings, developments all over on this side, and across the road on this side too we have developments. But you go back to 1995 and all this is clear land, and now you can see clearly there seems to be some sort of problem area here. This could be a sinkhole. It does look like a sinkhole. Same with this one here. And then if you look at how the development has taken place, let's just pick any of the developed, you see all the buildings have been built around those two spots. This is still there, nobody has done anything, they just built around it. The same down here. So that gives you an idea of, okay, maybe there's something going on here. And so if this was our site, this would be a place to look at when you go out there on the site. Unfortunately, ours is on here and there doesn't seem to be that much difference from 95 to now. But still, it gives you an idea of the type of things you can see from these historical areas. Okay, so we are continuing with historical aerials, and we've looked at what Google Earth has in its database, but you may well know that there are older historical aerials you can find from other sources. So normally when you find this other data, it might be in the form of GIS shapefiles or CAD shapefiles. And Google Earth doesn't deal very well with these shapefiles, especially for CAD shapefiles. It's very difficult to open up CAD shapefiles in Google Earth and work with them. You may be able to work with some GIS shapefiles, but that's still a bit difficult. So what you may have to do is convert the shapefiles to KMZ or KML, and there's software for doing that, and you may have to pay for that. And so it might end up not being, it's just not worth it, because for what we are going to do, you don't really need it to be in a form of digitized map or anything. You just need the image to be able to see. So what I would advise you to do is to open up those shapefiles in a GIS environment or a CAD, or even just open it up on an online map, and then use your snipping tool, Windows snipping tool, to just take a screenshot of the area of your interest and then import it into Google Earth. Now the downside is if you open up a KMZ or KML, or if you convert a shapefile into one of those other files and open it up, it is georeferenced, so it opens up right in the exact spot that you want it to be. So you just open it up and it comes with, it lines up with your base map, and then you are fine, you can work with it. But if you take an image, then you have to import it and then line it up yourself. So the trade-off is that you waste a little more time lining it up. But long story short, I think it's still easier to take a screenshot and then import it into Google Earth, which is what I'm going to do for this old area that I found for this site. I think it was taken in 1941. So in order to import this aerial into our work environment, you come up to tutorial site files, which is where we've been saving all of our work. Right click on that, come to add, and like I said, I saved it as an image, so you're adding it as an overlay. So you come to image overlay, and then it opens up this dialog box, and you can give it a name. So let's call it historical aerial. You can add the year if you want or whatever, and then you click on browse and come to where you saved it, just select it, open, and it imports this historical aerial onto your site. Now it might take a little time to line this up, so I'm just going to show you what you need to do to line it up, and then maybe I'll pause the video and then finish lining it up, and then we'll continue. So the first thing you want to do is to try and identify features on the aerial that are also on your base map that you can use to line up. So I think we'll try to see if we can find this long, that may look like a river or something. So if you zoom out a little bit, and sure enough, it looks like this is the one running all along that. So we have to find a way to line this up with what is on the aerial. So you can see now the aerial looks really small. We'll have to zoom it up so that line in there can line up with this. And to do that, the green arrows here and lines, those are for controlling, shifting, moving it. And normally what I do is I don't want to distort this image. I want it to stay the way it is. So before I drag it and enlargen it, I hold down the shift key, and then you can drag this out, and it maintains your aspect ratio. It doesn't distort it in one direction or another. And now the second thing you can see is that this line that we are trying to line up with, this one under here, the image is covering the entire thing under it, so we can't even see what we are trying to line up, right? So what you do in that situation is you come over to this transparency, and you can drag this, change the transparency until you can kind of see both of them, so you can see a little bit of what is under there, but also see what you are trying to line up. And so I think that's about it. And remember the short keys. If you press the U, it turns your view upside down, like you can look directly. And then if it, if by some mistake you turn it and it's not oriented north, just press the N and it orients north. And those should be all the controls you need to line up this image well. So that, and the reason you need to line it up is so that you can see any features of interest on the aerial. You want to see where they are on the aerial and then where they match up on your sites, right? So I think at this point I'm going to pause the video and then just line this up and we can continue. Alright, so I have lined up the aerial pretty close, and as you may notice, I've had to zoom out, zoom extend, change my zoom extent in order to get it lined up well. But now you can zoom back into where you have your site, and if you see anything that looks like it might be of interest to you, like this here, I think this is where we had that soft spot or patch of soil that looks like something might be happening there. We still have it here, so you might want to put some kind of a demarcation around it, just to tell yourself that okay, this area needs me to kind of look at it, and again you can change the style, change the color to whatever color you like. Okay, and also you see where we have our site, there seems to be some kind of a wetland area going around it. So again, you might want to just put a polygon or just a free form area around it. Like that. Okay, and now you can come under the tutorial site files and uncheck the historical area. So now you see we saw these as they looked like problem areas on the historical aerials, and sure enough, this is exactly where we said there seemed to be something going on right here. And now you've also learned that this entire area used to be some kind of a wetland, and now there's a road going here. It's a road going, see the roads are going kind of on the edges, so that tells you that okay, there might be drainage problems here because this is some historical wet area. So those are the kinds of things you can get from historical aerials, and I think that's good enough for those. And you can turn off any of these layers at any point if you don't want them to interfere with what you are looking at. All right, so next up I'm going to show you another data format that I downloaded. Now bear in mind, this may not be available for all of the sites, but this is something that's really useful. I found it really useful. It's a soils map, and fortunately this is a KMZ file, so I'll get to show you how those work if it's in KMZ formats. So let's see, if you come to file, open, and where did I save that? USDA soils web, open that, and it opens up, and all of these areas are different soil units. Okay, so our entire site is almost like it's in this what do you call it, map unit number 5. And look at something really cool here. If we turn on this this shape that we got from the historical area, look at how closely that lines up with this soil map unit number 5. Okay, that tells you that okay, this particular soil unit has something going on that's it could be a drainage problem. And you look at all of the sites that look like they could have muck, it's soil map unit number 5. And so if it's a KMZ file, the cool thing is you can click on the area, and then it says tells you what kind of soil it is. Yeah, whatever that name is, it's depressional. And you can read about the soil, you can read about what kinds of soil it is, So that's another really cool thing that you can do. But like I said, this may not be available for your site, but if it is, it'll be very useful. Now, this video has already run long enough, and I think I've showed you what you need to know. If it's a KMZ file, you can open it up like this, and you can click on areas and just read about what kinds of information you want to get. It could be a geology map, it could be a topography or anything. If it's not a KMZ and then you have to take a screenshot, then you can also line it up and then mark out areas of interest to you. But at the end of the day, the whole point is that you can get a lot of information from these other external data sources. So at this point, if you have any questions, please put it down in the comment section and I'll try to get to you. Thank you very much for watching today's video, and I appreciate all of your support. And as always, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do, and share this video with your friends. And I'll see you for the 4th and last video, for when we then put all of these data together to finally plan our actual field investigation.